Good morning, everyone. Sunday night at the Oscars, Jonathan Glazer stood up in front of the world and made the following statement. We refute our Jewishness being taken hostage for an occupation that has led to war and conflict. This is a tragic misrepresentation of Judaism, because Judaism and the Jewish people have always stood for peace. If you take the three holiest prayers in Judaism, the Shemona Esrei, the Kaddish, and the priestly blessing, the conclusion of all three is Shalom, a prayer for peace. A matter of fact, we all know that Shalom means peace, Shalom means hello, Shalom means goodbye in Hebrew, but believe it or not, one of the names of God is Shalom, peace. That's how much Judaism values peace, that one of the names of God is peace, Shalom. And when we wish each other Shalom Aleichem, peace unto you, we're actually saying, may God be upon you. When we say Shabbat Shalom, we're not just saying, may you have a peaceful Shabbat, we're saying, may God be in your Shabbat, a divine Shabbat. And yet a Jew can get up and claim that the Jewish people are using their Jewishness for an occupation to bring about bloodshed, when Judaism abhors bloodshed and violence. And the story of Gaza is the opposite of an occupation. It's the story of 2005, when Israel took 8,000, 9,000 Jewish men, women, and children out of their homes by force and turned over the entire Gaza so there should be no occupation, so we could try to live in peace with the Palestinians. And Hamas came and occupied Gaza from the PA and then brought about all this violence upon the people of Gaza, and furthermore used civilians as human shields by planting tunnels and ammunition underneath schools and hospitals and residents of Gazans. And then for a Jew to stand up and say we're using our Jewishness to hijack an occupation when there is no occupation, and there was no occupation in Gaza. And furthermore, to say that we somehow want violence when, as a Jewish people, we pray for peace constantly. There's no word in our prayers that our prayers is more replete with than the word Shalom, the prayer for peace. So much so that this week we're reading about the tabernacle. And one of the laws in the tabernacle and the temple is that you're not allowed to use any stones that were cut with a sword, with a blade, because the tabernacle represents the ideal of peace, tranquility, harmony, and therefore a iron blade that is used for violence cannot be used to cut any of the stones in the tabernacle or in the temple. The tabernacle and the temple represent God's home, which must be built in a peaceful and a tranquil, harmonious, loving environment. The Jewish people are the poster child for peace and for making every effort necessary, including the unilateral withdrawal of Gaza without getting anything in return. No promises, but just a hope that maybe once and for all they will see that we seek peace and desire peace and will live in peace with us. And while we're on the topic of the Oscars, the red pin that so many celebrities wore calling for a ceasefire had a hand on it, a red hand with a black heart in the middle of it. Do you know what the designer of that pin intended when he made the red hand? The lynching in Ramallah of two Israelis who accidentally drove into Ramallah, and you all remember the image when they lynched and murdered these two Israelis and proudly held up their hands, their red hands filled with the blood of these innocent Israelis, and celebrated the death of two Jews. Just like on October 7th, the Palestinians and the Arabs celebrated the death of Jews, and the video and the recording of this Palestinian youth calling his mother and father with glee and joy and saying, I killed 10 Jews with my own hands. And these entertainers were wearing the red pin with the red hand representing the blood of Jews. Now, I don't know if every entertainer who wore it knew the origin of that red hand. But like the people marching and saying from the river to the sea, they don't know where the river is, they don't know where the sea is, but what they're calling is for a complete genocide of the Jewish people in Israel. And so to Jonathan Glazer, I am so proud, and we are so proud to be Jews, because we know the truth, that the Jewish people not only pray for peace, but do everything in their power to live in peace. And as Golda Meir said, if our enemies put down their ammunition, there would be peace throughout the Middle East today. But if the Jewish people put down their ammunition, there would be no more Israel in the Middle East today. A Jew only fights for self-defense, to save and to preserve lives, not just the lives of Israelis, but when you rid the world of terror, you save human life throughout the globe, because Iran and its proxies are death machines and terror machines. Just like America went to war after Pearl Harbor to defeat the Japanese, and just like Winston Churchill went to war to defeat Nazism and Hitler, we have to, and just like we defeated ISIS and Al-Qaeda, the world has to defeat Hamas. We are clear in our vision what our intention is. We want to rid the world of evildoers so the world can live in peace. And that's why we celebrate and not refute